Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about SUI. I'm going to be providing you with my thesis on why I believe SUI is a must-have altcoin in pretty much every portfolio for the rest of 2025, despite how much your risk tolerance is, whether you're looking to be high risk, whether you're looking to be low risk. I think SUI should be one of the dominant coins in every portfolio. In fact, I would go as far to say in most people's portfolios, this should be the biggest holding. Unless you're trying to play it a bit more safe, maybe you're going for Bitcoin or a Solana or something like that, that's fine. But for the majority of retail, maybe they don't want to hold much Bitcoin, they don't want to hold much Ethereum or Solana. SUI would be the next obvious choice as your safety net for this cycle. Now, I'm not proposing the idea of holding it long-term for multiple years. We can buy it back in the bear market when everything crashes, right? Solana crashed a lot in the bear market. I'm happy to wait it out and see the prices that it goes to in the bear. But I don't believe we're at a bear market yet. I believe we're at the kind of beginning of another stage up in the cycle. Now, maybe this is just a fake out. Maybe we come back down a little bit lower. The point is, I don't think Bitcoin has made its all-time high yet. I think it's going to make a higher high, and I believe SUI will as well. In this video, I'll be providing you my thesis. I'll be telling you some of the reasons why I'm so bullish on this coin and what I would be looking to do to maximize my potential in this bull run, which I don't think is over. So smash the likes on the video if you like the sound of that. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want to see more content on coins like SUI and other altcoins I'm bullish on. And if you do want to see my real-time buy and sell alerts, as well as join a Discord community full of like-minded individuals, check out the VIP link in the description. There's a current discount code if you use the code SAVE20 at checkout. That's SAVE20 at checkout. Now, before we get into all the reasons why I'm so bullish on SUI and my kind of in-depth analysis, go and get yourself a Tangem. It's linked in the description. You can use the code Archie at checkout. This is where I'm storing my SUI. I don't recommend storing SUI on a centralized exchange. Go and get yourself a cold storage wallet. This is the one I personally use, and you can save yourself some money on it by using the code Archie at checkout. All right, so SUI for me is just the obvious play this cycle. It's the obvious layer one. It has many similarities to Solana from last cycle and the move that Solana made from last cycle, and I was here to witness that. In fact, if you look at the cyclical point that we could be at in this cycle, Solana was around a $7 billion market cap at this point in time. Now, what do I mean by the cyclical point of this cycle? By cyclical point, I don't necessarily mean the exact same date, the 27th of March, 2021. I don't mean that. Okay, now we are in a post-halving year, so it would be 2021. But based on my rationale, I think the market is recovering from this type of a crash, a bull market crash. A bear market and a bull market could be another way to describe it. And thus, I think we're making another higher high, just like we did in 2021. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be magnitudes higher on Bitcoin. You know, maybe it's 115K, maybe 120, maybe even 130, right? But I don't think it's going to be this kind of a move, right? Which some people are expecting. So what I think is reasonable to do is to go back and look at some altcoins at this point in time. And if we look at the actual date range, that would be kind of July 2021, right? July, August 2021. Now, yes, that is quite a way away from where we are now. We're still early on in 2025, but I would argue this cycle has been left leaning for quite a while. Ever since we made that higher high on Bitcoin in March, we've been pretty left leaning as a cycle, which means we are probably somewhat ahead of schedule when it comes to the cycle. Not a lot, but a few months. And for that reason, I don't necessarily think we're going to top out as late as October or November, like a lot of traditional 4-year cycle advocates are arguing. I think we could see a top a little bit to the left of that. Obviously, just my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm seeing in the charts. Now, one thing you can do is you can go to the historical snapshots section on CoinMarketCap, and you can go down and you can look at that cyclical point where I'm saying there's some bearing of a similarity. And let's go and look at August 2021 and see where Solana was at. If we scroll down, the market cap was around 9 billion. I was saying it was around 7 billion, something like that. So, crypto was a pretty volatile last cycle. So you can see on the week, it was up 21% at this point. So it probably was around 7 billion here or there. So 7 to 9 billion on Solana around this time last cycle, in my opinion. Okay, everyone has a different interpretation of the chart. I'm sure some people think that we're at the very beginning of a bull run. Some people probably think that we're at the point where Solana is at 1 billion in market cap or 2 billion in market cap. But I'm personally not seeing that. I think we're more to that point where Solana is at 9 billion and Bitcoin was maybe at, a 39K price. It then went up to 69K. That's around the level I think we are at this cycle. So if we go ahead and look at where Solana went to last bull run, pull it up on the chart, I just told you Solana was around 9 billion at the point we just looked at. It went and peaked around 80 billion in market cap. So from that point I just showed you, it was just less than a 10x. Now, if you got in at 7 billion, July 2021, you would have made over a 10x. You would have made maybe an 11x, something like that. Okay. If you factor in a little bit of dilution as well, maybe it's a little bit less. But the point is, if you were buying Solana during that bear market in a bull market phase, you would have made 9 or 10 times on your money. You're putting in 10K, you're coming out of 100K, you're putting in 100K, you're coming out with $1 million in that phase. I think that's the point that we're at this cycle. And we're going to see a lot of coins, particularly altcoins, do really, really well in this next few months. Bitcoin, on the other hand, maybe it just makes a bit of a higher high. But the key thing is, maybe Bitcoin only goes 10 or 30% higher than its all-time high. But a lot of altcoins are going to do a ton more than that because Bitcoin dominance will start coming down. That's the key part. Bitcoin dominance will start coming down, which will put the change in terms of Bitcoin and altcoin pairs. That will trigger the change. Now, let's just go through a few things I like about SUI. We're not going to get too much into the fundamentals here, but what I like, it's extremely fast. Okay, extremely fast, 297,000 TPS, which compares very nicely to other chains such as Solana. It's a move-based programming language, so you could say maybe it's a little bit more modern than Solana and some other projects, which maybe use Rust or maybe use the Ethereum virtual machine or other things. So I like that. And one of the other things I really like about SUI is the ecosystem growth. There are starting to become a great pile of different altcoins on SUI that are starting to launch. Walrus being one of them, which just launched. Now, I wouldn't personally jump in on this. I would rather just buy the SUI token itself because the risk reward is just a lot better. And it is a 500 million market cap with a 2 billion FDV. So I'm not really jumping on something that big. If it was maybe 100 million market cap, then I'd consider it. But at 500 million, I would just buy the SUI token. A lot of people think it's really, really easy to go and bet on the beta plays and you'll just make whatever SUI does times 2, times 5, times 10. Why buy SUI when you can buy the SUI DEX or the SUI Liquidity Hub? It doesn't always work like that, guys. I've seen it so many times. People think they can just time the beta plays really well. And if they would have just bought the native layer 1 token, they would have made more money than the beta play. And it holds up during the dips better. And it's way safer. So you've always got to be evaluating, is it really worth it in terms of risk and reward? And for me, buying Thesis, buying Walrus, it's not really worth it for me. I would much rather buy SUI. That's not to say they won't do well. That's just to say my personal preference is with the SUI token itself. So I like the ecosystem growth here. I like the fact that they're putting a big focus on gaming as well and all sorts of different things. But it really is a great competitor to Solana with the Move programming language offering a bit of a difference there. Got other things going on as well. ZK login, pretty interesting. Basically, you can use your web credentials to have a crypto account. You got different use cases, DeFi, gaming, all sorts of different things. But overall, it does a lot of the same things Solana does, but in my opinion, even better. So we've gone through the fundamentals. Now it's the very important part, which is to look at some of the charts. And I'm not going to go too deep into short-term analysis, but what I am going to do is look at SUI and then compare it to some other coins, and we can really see why this one is showing so much strength and why it ties in to this point here, that in the next leg up, you must position yourself in the most clear winners. SUI is the number one. So there's going to be a lot of people that try and bet and gamble on projects which have been underperformers. I mean, I do that myself a little bit. I bought a little bag of SEI around the bottom, around the lows, but it's a speculative bet. I'm not going in, 30 or 40, 50% of my portfolio in SEI, but I am looking at doing that in SUI. Now, it's okay to get a few coins here and there that haven't been clear winners. But if you're looking at the majority of your portfolio, you want to be positioned in the clear winners. And SUI is the number one. It's the most obvious clear winner outside of Bitcoin this cycle. This cycle has really been Bitcoin, Solana, SUI, and then some memes and AI agents and things like that, right? Most utility coins actually haven't done that well, apart from a very select few, and SUI is one of them. So you've got to be in the clear winners. And when we look at the SUI chart, we can see that during this massive crash that the market has had, SUI has actually respected the levels really, really well. And this is a rarity when you look around the altcoin space. You look at a ton of other altcoins. And by the way, altcoins I like, they have not done that. You look at coins like Aerodrome, Arkham, Radium, Beam, loads of coins, right? Loads of coins kind of on my watch list. Tons of them have just gone right down to the range lows, and some of them have even put in lower lows this cycle compared to where they were like in the bear market of 2022. So it's been particularly brutal for altcoins, but SUI has been one of the few shining altcoins out of the bunch. Now we can see it came down and it hit the golden pocket and it bounced. Hits it again here. Initially, it had a bounce, then it came back down, hits it again, and we're seeing it start to bounce here. Really, really nice. RSIs are pretty reset as well. Man, this thing, to me, it looks ready to rip. It looks ready to rip to the upside. If I'm betting on a coin that's going to put in a higher high, it's going to be SUI. And I don't think every single coin is going to put in a higher high, by the way. Just like when I was alluding to the two highs in 2021, obviously there was one in April, there was one in November. A lot of altcoins actually put in their high during April. And they didn't even come back in November. Maybe they slightly had a rally, but they didn't get back to those April levels. There's going to be an awful lot of altcoins, in my view, again, that do not reclaim their all-time highs in this next run-up that we're going to have on Bitcoin and the altcoin market in the next few months. There's going to be a ton which don't even get back to those levels. They've already put their high in, and they're kind of starting their bear market, right? Or they'll have some form of a rally, but it won't be enough to create a higher high. SUI looks like one of the coins which is obviously going to make a higher high. It really does. I mean, holding the 618 really strong, starting to see a bounce already, despite a lot of the market not really seeing a big recovery. SUI certainly is. Just look at the chart, guys. And this is where it gets really interesting, okay? When you start comparing SUI to other coins. So we're going to make the Bitcoin comparison here. And it's really, really interesting. I don't do that much analysis looking at Bitcoin pairs. I know other people do. But I was looking at some of the Bitcoin pairs today in pretty big depth. And SUI is one of the few coins which actually looks okay compared to Bitcoin. And that's the key thing, right? With an altcoin, you at least want to outperform Bitcoin. And most altcoins haven't done that in the last few months. SUI absolutely has. And it looks relatively strong compared to Bitcoin. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the point from the beginning of 2024 onwards, okay? So 2024 onwards, look at these pairs, SUI to Bitcoin. So this green box here shows the start of 2024. We had a nice rally, then we came down, then we had another nice rally. And now we're seeing the bounce off the 618. Also, quite interestingly, we're seeing that on the spot chart alongside the USD valuation. So both of them seeing a bounce off the golden pocket. Very interesting indeed. And, whilst a lot of people won't be looking at the SUI BTC chart, the fibs still apply because these are basically laws of mathematics. They are laws of nature, which also apply to charts that people aren't necessarily charting too much. So the fibs aren't just a self-fulfilling prophecy that, some people think that's the case. They're not. They are actual mathematical laws that come into play even with charts that people don't look at. I imagine if you're charting, sugar canes, the fibs can still apply because they are laws of nature. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I've showed you the SUI BTC chart. Look at the ETH BTC chart. Look at this horrific looking chart. Absolutely being crushed. This green box here is the same point that I'm looking at on this chart. Look how healthy and organic the SUI BTC chart looks. Now look at how destructive the Ethereum BTC chart looks. Every single time someone thinks it's the bottom, it just goes and makes a lower low. ETH BTC looks horrific in this chart. Maybe it has bottomed, but the point is the last few months, last few years even for ETH BTC have been horrendous. Really, really terrible. And you can see that's the green box showing the same. And you can see that green box is the same green box as I outlined with the SUI Bitcoin pair. But look at the difference between the two. That just shows to me that SUI is the type of coin you want to be holding. Ethereum is the type of coin you want to be a bit skeptical of. Now we're going to get into a coin which I'm personally very bullish on as well, but it's kind of showing similarities to Ethereum, and that's Kaspa, the Kaspa BTC chart. You can see the ETH BTC chart, is down 61%. So Ethereum to Bitcoin is down 61% when you're comparing it to Bitcoin. So you were better off holding Bitcoin in the last couple of years. Kaspa to Bitcoin is around the same ballpark, okay? Not looking too great. Now, it was looking good up until kind of the end of 2024, and then it kind of fell off a cliff. But for me, I think with Kaspa, the fundamentals will rule supreme eventually, but the chart has not looked good for Kaspa in a long time. And I've been very vocal about that in my VIP group on the channel. You guys know I've de-risked a bit out of Kaspa already. My current Kaspa holding is a lot less than what it was at one point. At one point, Kaspa was like 50% of my portfolio. Now it's more around that 10% mark because I did reduce my allocation when it was higher in price. And I'm very glad, very fortunate that I did that. Now, that's not to say Kaspa won't do well. I think it will do exceptionally well. But the reality is the chart is not looking great when you're comparing it to Bitcoin. SUI is looking good compared to Bitcoin. So that is why I currently hold more SUI in my portfolio than Kaspa. It's not because I necessarily completely prefer the fundamentals of SUI. It's just the chart. And the charts don't lie, right? I can prefer the fundamentals of Monero to all these coins. But it doesn't necessarily mean I go and put all my money in Monero, okay? Because the chart might not be looking too good. So that's the case right now. A lot of altcoins, and it's not just Kaspa and Ethereum, by the way. A lot of altcoins are not looking good to BTC. SUI is one of the few. So that's another reason as to why I would be going heavy into SUI on this next leg up, because it looks like it's about to have a big bounce against Bitcoin. It also looks like it's going to have a big bounce against the US dollar. So both of these pairs to me look really, really primed for another leg up on SUI. Now, if we look into comparisons, I talked about SUI and Solana. I don't necessarily think it's going to get above Solana's all-time high market cap, which is 127 billion. But I do think it could rival Solana's prior market cap of the 2021 bull run, which is around 80 billion or so, right? I think it can also do something like Cardano from last cycle, which if we pull it up, is around the same ballpark as Solana. Okay, if we're looking at Cardano, that is an 11x on Cardano. And that would be the Cardano high that it made in 2021. So you're talking 11x from now to Cardano's all-time high. So ultimately, I think SUI can do anywhere between a 5 to an 11x this bull run. That is my target. And I know some people are looking for more gains than that, but you've got to ask yourself, are you looking to be in the clear winners, or are you looking to be in the more speculative, more gambling plays, which are hit or miss? That's the reality with a lot of coins. Coins that don't look like this with Bitcoin, coins that look more like Ethereum, a lot of them are going to be hit or miss this bull run. They might put in a higher high, they might do great, but at the same time, they may continue to just bleed out against Bitcoin. And that is my fear with a lot of these coins. But SUI, however, looks absolutely primed on both the BTC and the USD charts. So that wraps it up for today's video, guys. Hopefully this was informative. Now, I strongly recommend that you guys go and share this video with someone who could benefit from it, someone who doesn't know too much about SUI. They want to learn more. They want to know why it looks so good for this bull run. So definitely go and share it with some friends or people you think could benefit. And get yourselves in the VIP group as well. This is the group where I'm sharing all my alerts. Had you have been in this group, you would have picked up SUI around the 70-cent region. I was going very, very heavy from that point onwards. And I made my average on SUI around $1. Okay. I went extremely heavy. I made it the biggest altcoin in my portfolio for a reason. And so far, it's been a very good decision that I've made this bull run. Okay. So check out the VIP. Strongly recommend you guys join this group. We have 24/7 Discord channels. I'm in the voice chat in the group very frequently. A lot of other influencers, they have a group. They don't really go in and talk to the members. I'm going in there. I'm talking to the members on voice chat and on text chat, as well as doing VIP exclusive live streams. So if you want me to review your portfolio and let me know what I think about yours, then go ahead and join the VIP and I'll give you a review. Thanks so much for watching. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.